ओम नमो भगवते श्री रमणाय। ओम नमो भगवते श्री रमणाय। ओम नमो भगवते श्री रमणाय। We offer our salutations to Ramana, who shines as the self in every being. We begin today's satsang with the prayer that will be followed by the chanting of Muktaka trayam by Revathi Shankar. दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा रमणाचार्यपर्यन्ता वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा। वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा। वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम्। ॐ नमो भगवते श्री रमणाय। नमो रमण।
एकमक्षरं हृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथं हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् ह्यहम् अहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता वा पवनचलनरोधात् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। तेऽहं मृण्मयवज्जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तदभावसुप्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः। कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्ट्वात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्। Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We continue with the chanting of a few verses of Upadesa Saram by Kumari Revathi Shankar again.
Namo Ramana. Idamaham padabhikkhamanvaham ahamilinake pyalayasattaya vigrahendriya pranadhitama nahamekasat tajjadam hyasat satvabhasika chitvavetara sattaya hi चित्तया ह्यहम् ईशजीवयोर्वेषधीभिदा सत्स्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् वेषहानतः स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनं स्वात्मरूपतः आत्मसंस्थितिः स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्द्वयादात्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता अज्ञानहीनचेत् ज्ञानमस्ति किं ज्ञातुमन्तरम् किं स्वरूपम् इत्यात्मदर्शने अव्यया भवा आपूर्णचित्सुखम् बन्धमुक्त्यतीतं परं सुखं विन्दति जीवस्तु दैविक अहमपेतकं निजविभानकं महदिदं तपो रमणवागियम् नमो रमण.
In the next part of the satsang, we have the offering of Ramananjali songs. Ramananjali songs will be presented by Srimati V. Radha, followed by Dr. Pratibha Sundaresh, and an offering by Savitri Krishnan and Jaisriram Krishnan, and the last presentation by Revathi Shankar. Ramananjali Sangeetam.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we have selected a song. The original is by Sri Muruganar Swami. The Telugu translation is by J.H.B. Acharya. And the music is by Sri Vijay Bhaskar. Deenabandhura Vayya Ramana Shivayogi Deenabandhura Vayya Ramana Shivayogi Jnanamritamu Poyerara Amara Yogirara Jnanamu Poyerara Amara Yogirara Deenabandhura Vayya Ramana Shivayogi Bhavamu Bandhamu Muktudaina Jnana Yogini Vata Bhavamu Bandhamu Muktudaina Jnana Yogini Vata Karma Palamulantarani Shanti Dhotarivata Karma Palamulantarani Shanti Dhotarivata Madamukamatsaralu Dharikirani Bhogivi Madamukamatsaralu Dharikirani Bhogivi Nirakara Brahmamulu Chuchinatti Yogivi Deenabandhura Vayya Ramana Shivayogi Gagana Talamuna Vilayu చంద్రనివాననా
గగనతలమున వెలయు పూర్ణ చంద్రనివాననా
దేవకోటి శతము కొలుచు పరమాత్మ రమణ
దేవకోటి శతము గొలుచు పరమాత్మ రమణ
ఇంద్రియముల వశము కాని యోగిరాజ రమణ
ఇంద్రియముల వశము కాని యోగిరాజ రమణ రాగాదులను బాబు రమణాఖ్య ఋషివి నీవు రాగాదులను బాబు రమణాఖ్య ఋషివి నీవు దీనబంధురావయ్య రమణ శివయోగి జ్ఞానామృతము పోయరార అమర యోగిరారా దీనబంధురావయ్య రమణ శివయోగి జ్ఞానామృతము పోయరార అమర యోగిరారా దీనబంధురావయ్య రమణ శివయోగి రమణ శివయోగి రమణ శివయోగి నమో రమణ.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. This is a very beautiful and joyous song composed by Dr. Sharada Netrajan. It describes the greatness of Bhagavan Ramana, who is the light of self shining in all beings. And as we celebrate this Deepavali, the festival of lights. ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். வள்ளல் பேரை சொன்னால் கள்ள மனமே கொள்ளை போ, கள்ள மனமே கொள்ளை போகும், கள்ள மனமே கொள்ளை போகும். மெல்ல தன்னை மறந்து அன்பு வெள்ளம் தன்னில் கரையும், அன்பு வெள்ளம் தன்னில் கரையும், அன்பு வெள்ளம் தன்னில் கரையும். எல்லோரும் கூடி கை கூப்பியாடி பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு பாடிடுவோம். எல்லோரும் கூடி கை கூப்பியாடி பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு பாடிடுவோம். ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். செல்வங்கள் 1000 கோடி பெற்றாலும் பல்வகை கலைகளை நன்கு கற்றாலும், செல்வங்கள் 1000 கோடி பெற்றாலும் பல்வகை கலைகளை நன்கு கற்றாலும், குருவின் தாமரை தாள் சரணடையாமல் இருந்தால் பெருமை நமக்கில்லை, வாழ்வில் ஏதும் பயனில்லை. குருவின் தாமரை தாள் சரணடையாமல் இருந்தால் பெருமை நமக்கில்லை, வாழ்வில் ஏதும் பயனில்லை. குரு பாதம் பணிந்து போற்றிடுவோம், திருநாமம் வாழ்த்தியே வாழ்விடுவோம். குரு பாதம் பணிந்து போற்றிடுவோம், திருநாமம் வாழ்த்தியே வாழ்விடுவோம். ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். வள்ளல் பேரை சொன்னால் கள்ள மனமே கொள்ளை போ, கள்ள மனமே கொள்ளை போகும், கள்ள மனமே கொள்ளை போகும். மெல்ல தன்னை மறந்து அன்பு வெள்ளம் தன்னில் கரையும், அன்பு வெள்ளம் தன்னில் கரையும், அன்பு வெள்ளம் தன்னில் கரையும். எல்லோரும் கூடி கை கூப்பியாடி பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு பாடிடுவோம். எல்லோரும் கூடி கை கூப்பியாடி பல்லாண்டு பல்லாண்டு பாடிடுவோம். ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். செல்வங்களாயிரம் கோடி பெற்றாலும் பல்வகை கலைகளை நன்கு கற்றாலும், செல்வங்களாயிரம் கோடி பெற்றாலும் பல்வகை கலைகளை நன்கு கற்றாலும், குருவின் தாமரை தாள் சரணடையாமல் இருந்தால் பெருமை நமக்கில்லை, வாழ்வில் ஏதும் பயனில்லை. குருவின் தாமரை தாள் சரணடையாமல் இருந்தால் பெருமை நமக்கில்லை, வாழ்வில் ஏதும் பயனில்லை. குரு பாதம் பணிந்து போற்றிடுவோம், திருநாமம் வாழ்த்திய வாழ்விடுவோம். குரு பாதம் பணிந்து போற்றிடுவோம், திருநாமம் வாழ்த்திய வாழ்விடுவோம். ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். ரமணன் மகிமகை மகிழுடன் பாடி கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். கருணை வள்ளலை கொண்டாடுவோம். நமோ ரமண.
రమణుడు చూపిన మార్గము సరళము అనుసరణీయము. రమణుడు చూపిన మార్గము సరళము అనుసరణీయము. రమణుడు చెప్పిన వేదము పుణ్యప్రదము పఠనీయము. రమణుడు చూపిన మార్గము సరళము అనుసరణీయము. దేహమనడి గుహలో మెసిలడి అహమను వ్యాఘ్రమునావల ద్రోలి. దేహమనడి గుహలో మెసిలడి అహమను వ్యాఘ్రమునావల ద్రోలి. ఆత్మజ్ఞానమున జ్యోతిని తెలిసి పరమాత్మను గని పరవశించుమని. ఆత్మజ్ఞానమున జ్యోతిని తెలిసి పరమాత్మను గని పరవశించుమని. రమణుడు చూపిన మార్గము సరళము అనుసరణీయము. రమణుడు చెప్పిన వేదము పుణ్యప్రదము పఠనీయము. రమణుడు చూపిన మార్గము సరళము అనుసరణీయము. స్వార్థ జీవులకు అర్థము కానిది సదాచారులకు సుగ్రాహ్యం ఇది. స్వార్థ జీవులకు అర్థము కానిది సదాచారులకు సుగ్రాహ్యం ఇది. మంగళప్రదమిది మహిత శక్తి ఇది. అరుణాచల కరుణా కటాక్షమిది. మంగళప్రదమిది మహిత శక్తి ఇది. అరుణాచల కరుణా కటాక్షమిది. రమణుడు చూపిన మార్గము సరళము అనుసరణీయము. రమణుడు చెప్పిన వేదము పఠనీయము. రమణుడు చూపిన మార్గము సరళము అనుసరణీయము. ఓం నమో భగవతే శ్రీరామ.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Today we are celebrating Dhanteras, and it is the day when Lord Goddess Lakshmi is worshipped, the goddess who gives us all treasure. Pratibha sang, Selvangal Ayiram Kodi Petralum. And when we come to Bhagavan, that Selvam, the true Selvam is given, the true treasure is given. Ramanudu Chupina Margamu, Saralamu Anusaraniyamu. That Veda he gave us, which is the treasure, which is within all of us. And Bhagavan has given us how to get back to that treasure which is our own all the time. Through this song, the song of Deepavali, which we are going to celebrate in 2-3 days. He says, this truth is Deepavali, the festival of lights, the great festival. When Naraka rules the world, the hellish world, he arises as the ego. And when we question, from where does this ego arise? Where is the source of this ego? What is the birthplace of this ego? By questioning, but through self-enquiry, the hellish ego is attacked. When Narayana slays the ego, that is the day, the auspicious day of Naraka Chaturdashi, says Bhagavan. The very embodiment of this hell is this body which we think that we are. We think the self is this body. We think that without this, it is impossible to live. He gets trapped in this sinful concept, which is Narakasura. When we search for this Narakasura and question him, destroy him, then the light of the true self shines. It is the self which is shining bright within all of us. That is Deepavali. Bhagavan has written this song for us to give the true meaning of Deepavali. I'll be presenting before you the Kannada translation of this Deepavali song written by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. The Kannada translation is by Dr. Sarada. Music is by Dr. Rajkumar Bharti. Ide Deepavaliyu, ide Deepavaliyu, ide Deepagala Utsavavu, Utsavavu. Ide Deepavaliyu, ide Deepavaliyu, ide Deepagala Utsavavu, Utsavavu. Ide Deepavaliyu, ide Deepavaliyu. ನರಕಲೋಕವ ಆಳುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ನರಕರೂಪ ಅಹಂಕಾರ ಮೂಡಿತು. ನರಕಲೋಕವ ಆಳುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ನರಕರೂಪ ಅಹಂಕಾರ ಮೂಡಿತು. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಉದಯ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಉಗಮ, ಎಲ್ಲಿಹುದು ಅದರ ಜನುಮ ತಾಣ. ನರಕಲೋಕವ ಆಳುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ನರಕ ರೂಪ ಅಹಂಕಾರ ಮೂಡಿತು. ನರಕಲೋಕವ ಆಳುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ನರಕ ರೂಪ ಅಹಂಕಾರ ಮೂಡಿತು. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಉದಯ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಯುಗ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಜನುಮ ತಾಣ. ಈ ಆತ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರದ ಶಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ, ಈ ಆತ್ಮ ವಿಚಾರದ ಶಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ನರಕರೂಪಿ ಅಹಂಕಾರವನು, ನರಕರೂಪಿ ಅಹಂಕಾರವನು ನಾರಾಯಣನು ಸಂಹರಿಸಲು, ನಾರಾಯಣನು ಸಂಹರಿಸಲು ಅದುವೇ ನರಕ ಚತುರ್ದಶಿಯು, ಅದುವೇ ನರಕ ಚತುರ್ದಶಿಯು. ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು, ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು, ಇದೇ ದೀಪಗಳ ಉತ್ಸವವು, ಉತ್ಸವವು. ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು, ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು. ನರಕ ಸಮಾನ ಈ ದೇಹ ಯಾರು ಆತ್ಮವೆಂದು ನೆನೆವನೋ. ನರಕ ಸಮಾನವೀ ದೇಹ ಯಾರು ಆತ್ಮವೆಂದು ನೆನೆವನೋ. ಪಾಪದ ಭಾವದಿ ಸಿಲುಕುವವನು ನರಕಾಸುರನು ಆಗುವನು. ಈ ಪಾಪಿಯ ಮನದಿಂ ಹುಡುಕುತ್ತ ಅವನನು ನಾಶ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ, ಅವನನು ನಾಶ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಅವನೇ ನಿಜ ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಯೋತಿಯಾಗಿ, ಅವನೇ ನಿಜ ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಯೋತಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೊಳೆವ ಹೊಳೆವ ಹೊಳೆಯುವನು, ಹೊಳೆವ ಹೊಳೆವ ಹೊಳೆಯುವನು. ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು, ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು, ಇದೇ ದೀಪಗಳ ಉತ್ಸವವು, ಉತ್ಸವವು. ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು, ಇದೇ ದೀಪಾವಳಿಯು. ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ದೀಪಾವಳಿ ಟು ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು. ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. After these beautiful Ramananjali offerings to that Ramana who is the light, we move on to the self-enquiry session, which will be led by Sri Dileep Simha ji.
Namo Ramana. ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्दे क्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणेश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणेश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामच्युतव पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. Moramna, we will commence the Atma Vichara by first listening and meditating on Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading his Upadesham from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai in the chapter Investigation into the Truth. The topic is Enquiry into Consciousness. The subtopic is only self-knowledge is true knowledge. Verse 420. The consciousness that ignores the self, whose nature is pure consciousness, and which regards perceived objects as real, is false. It is ignorance brought about by Maya. Though one may learn all that one desires, true knowledge is only the complete elimination of all such conceptual and differentiated objective knowledge and its total transformation into self alone in the direct experience of one's real nature, the non-dual pure consciousness. I repeat, the consciousness that ignores the self, whose nature is pure consciousness, and which regards perceived objects as real, is false. It is ignorance brought about by Maya. Though one may learn all that one desires, true knowledge is only the complete elimination of all such conceptual and differentiated objective knowledge and its total transformation into self alone in the direct experience of one's real nature, the non-dual pure consciousness. It looks like a very paradoxical statement, but that is exactly what is happening here. The consciousness ignoring the pure consciousness. That means when the first term consciousness is being used, it is the Chit Jada Granthi, that is the ego, which acts as though it is a conscious entity which can look upon or objectively understand something. So this ego, which is really not there, but owing to this ignorance, this Maya, that means a sense of separateness, the pure consciousness, forgetting its real nature, it mixes itself with the object of its perception and believes that it is the witness of the objects. And therefore, there is this consciousness which is witnessing, and there is some object, whether subtle or gross, that is being witnessed. Owing to this wrong idea, this ego or this Chit Jada Granthi, the consciousness entangled with the object, believing that to be the only way to understand, the only way to live, the only way to know, that consciousness will keep on, even when it comes to the spiritual path, no matter how many books, it will continue to read more books, try to understand more things, try to intellectually grasp. That means it is always, even when it comes to the self, recognizing the self, it wants to it wants to claim that it knows the self very objectively. That is the fundamental flaw that Bhagavan is trying to bring it to our attention. We ourselves have to watch how we are consciously looking out. Are we trying to look out for some objective experience in terms of knowledge, or in terms of something to see, or in terms of something that we have understood? This is what Bhagavan is asking us to watch out. In that case, the Chit Jada Granthi is functioning, the ego is functioning. And it is a false entity. Really, nothing is there other than the pure consciousness, which is the only entity which can know. But because of this spurious, what Bhagavan calls as mind, that Shakti which rises from the self, called mind, which is imaginary, which we can see in the dream. Because in the dream, when the mind rises, all things appear to be very, very real. Though physically nothing is there, we feel somebody is there, we are in a world as much as in the waking state. It is all looks very solid, very, very interactive. So when the mind rises, and this Chit Jada Granthi is the way that it gets entangled, the consciousness gets entangled with this imaginary thoughts that rise in the form of, which is rises in the mind. Our mind is nothing but a bunch of thoughts. And when this consciousness entangles in a subject-object approach as a witness, then it forgets its true nature. What do we mean by it forgets its true nature? It forgets that it is the conscious. The mind is just the thought is only superficial. It forgets whatever objectively it is experiencing is all transitory. But what is enabling it to see all this transitory, it takes it for granted. It so much believes in the object, and with that identity with the object. And because all of these objects appear very strongly in the mind and in the brain, we take this body to be ourself, and we keep on thinking that I as an individual, that is, as Dileep, would be able to one day, through these objective ways of learning, be able to recognize the pure consciousness. And that very approach is flaw. And that is what Bhagavan is saying. The recognition here Bhagavan is asking us to make is that the consciousness can stand by itself without any object. That we can see in the sleep, where there is no object, and we are there to recognize there is no object. So that Niralamba Sthiti, non-dependent on anything, is possible. And when we recognize this possibility, and consciously the consciousness recognizes this possibility, then it starts, as Bhagavan says, eliminates everything. It will eliminate the body, it will eliminate the mind, it will eliminate every object. It starts to recognize that truly that consciousness, the pure consciousness, it alone is. And all of this is not necessary for it, or all of this is just an imaginary play, which is transcendent, which is always, which comes and goes, which is not permanent. This recognition and this elimination by the consciousness, recognizing its true nature, Bhagavan says, then makes the total transformation that the self alone is, and then it simply remains without attaching itself or without even seeking any kind of objective experience. That means it brings the deep sleep where there is no object, in a very conscious way. That is what Bhagavan calls bringing the sleep into the waking state. That is what a consciousness will eliminate seeking any object, even spiritual, even moksha. Everything it will let go, because it recognizes that it itself is the self. It itself is the pure being, consciousness. There is nothing apart for it to recognize. No, it is already that here and now. And therefore, it also recognizes in the act of knowing something, in the act of doing something, it becomes the jiva. It becomes an individual. It creates an imaginary subject-object divide. And in that recognition, it will eliminate everything, says Bhagavan here. Then it will remain in its own pure nature, bereft of everything. And that Bhagavan calls as the non-dual pure consciousness. So until the consciousness fearlessly lets everything go by recognizing that it alone is, the pure consciousness alone is bereft of all things, until it let goes with that, and that is real, the death experience, we can say, or that is really the Narakasura Samhara, as Revathi was talking about, because it recognizes all of this objective is Naraka, and therefore that entanglement is the Narakasura. The entanglement of the consciousness with the object, whether the object is subtle or gross, is all nothing but the Narakasura raising and capturing the fort of pure being and trying to shine as though he is real. And when the pure consciousness recognizes this evil approach, it will slay. That means it will no more hold on to any objective experience. It starts to remain in its real nature without seeking any experience, absolutely no experience. And that in that pure non-dual presence of itself, it experiences the unalloyed happiness, because there is nothing else there to disturb it. That is why Bhagavan is saying one's self-knowledge is only the true knowledge. And all other objective knowledge, no matter even if it is of the spiritual things that we may read, we may practice as meditation, or even including self-enquiry we may do, but that is all again an aid, but it will never be the real experience of the self. The aids will make it more clear that the pure consciousness can stay by itself. It can be in that pure niralamba sthiti, not depending on anything, and it is and that pure consciousness is really untouched by anything also here and now. And then when it consciously stays in that, not looking for any objective experience, that is in its own true nature, then it experiences the non-duality, says Bhagavan here. Bhagavan's immense grace, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. We should keep on practicing this self-enquiry, which brings about more and more clarity. The consciousness, by inquiring to whom is this, for every objective experience, whether it's a thought or anything, and then further questioning who am I, starts to clearly understand that there is a clear divide between the consciousness and the object and the act of perceiving. It sees there is a division, and it sees that all that act of perceiving and the perceived object is all comes and goes, but The consciousness, like the screen, is untouched by what comes and goes, and it is not dependent on what comes and goes. This revelation, which comes about by every time inquiring to whom is this, who am I, makes the consciousness consciously let go everything. Tyagena ekena amrutatvamanushu. It will let go everything. It will let go all objective experience and will shine in its own real nature. That is the non-dual experience which Bhagavan will take us all by his abundant grace. With his grace, for the next 10 minutes, let us practice Atma Vichara. And in Atma Vichara, no matter how many thoughts come, no matter what is the nature of those thoughts, we should diligently inquire to whom is this. And in every inquiry, we will recognize it is only for me. And therefore, the question, who am I? What do I refer to as I? We have to investigate or inquire. And when we try to go to the source of the I thought, or we try to find out what we refer as I, there we see that we are the pure consciousness, and all things that are coming and going, all that objective things which are coming and going are not oneself, but the pure consciousness is verily oneself, and that is already given or naturally is my nature. And when more and more we understand the nature of ourselves, the less and less we see that we are dependent on any object, and we let go or eliminate all object with fearlessly and remain in our own true happy state of non-dual presence. Bhagwan's immense grace, let us practice self-inquiry for the next 10 minutes. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with a sharing by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji.
Namo Ramana.
Guru Brahma
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jnanamulam Gurur Murtihi, Pujamulam Gururpadam, Mantramulam Gururvakyam, Mokshamulam Gururkripaha, Mokshamulam Gururkripaha. Moramana. In the last satsang, we had done Manana on verse number 59 of Atma Bodha. So we will do quick recap of that. All objects are united with that Brahman. All actions are dependent on that. Hence, Brahman pervades everything just as butter pervades milk. Brahman is described as the one infinite, all-pervading reality. It is said to permeate all beings and things in the world. If this is true, how does it elude human cognition? This question is answered deftly by the metaphor used in the verse. It also provides the technique by which you can realize the all-pervading Brahman. The world consists of sentient things and insentient things. Brahman expresses as Sat, existence, in inert objects, and as intelligence, Chit, and bliss, Ananda, in living beings. Brahman pervades the entire universe. It exists in you like butter in milk. Butter exists in milk, and yet it is not visible to the naked eye. Similarly, Brahman is not cognizable as such. The process of self perfectly coincides with the method of extraction of butter from the milk, as can be seen from the example. The process of extraction of butter, we all know this. The milk is heated up, then it is cooled, and then we add a little curds to it, and then leave it outside normal temperature. Then in the morning, the milk transforms into curd. And then what happens? The curd is churned and the butter separates. And the churning is regulated so that the butter doesn't melt back into the curd. And the butter is removed and kept in a separate bowl in fresh water. And then the extracted butter is boiled and converted into ghee. In this analogy, milk represents the mind. And after you experience the trials and tribulations of life, your mind settles down to quiet a life. Such quietude must be found in your own home, away from the din and roar of the marketplace. When your mind is thus made receptive, a little dose of spiritual study is administered. It's like the curds. You react with time. Your thoughts, which were running hither and thither into sensual fields, characterized by the fluidity of the milk, becomes more mature. Thereafter, in the early hours of the morning, in the Brahma Muhurta, your intellect must reflect upon the truth, negate the unreal, and assert the reality. When knowledge, that is the butter, reveals itself to you, the knowledge obtained must be preserved with devotion. As knowledge increases, you're prepared for a deeper contemplation and meditation. Thus, having prepared yourself, meditate upon the self, and in the intensity of the meditation, you realize the supreme truth. Beautiful verse. We come to the verse number 60. I request Sapna to kindly chant that for us.
Namo Ramana sir.
Namo Ramana.
अनन्वस्तूलमह्रस्वम् अधीर्गमजमव्ययम् अरूपगुणवर्णाख्यम् तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत् अनन्वस्तूलमह्रस्वम् अधीर्गमजमव्ययम् अरूपगुणवर्णाख्यम् तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. Realize that to be Brahman, which is neither subtle nor gross, neither short nor long, which has no birth or change, which is without form, quality, color, and name. Language is useful only to describe the terrestrial world. It fails when it is employed to express the transcendental reality. The terrestrial world is expressible because it has quality, guna, function, kriya, name, nama, qualification, and relationship, sambandha. Brahman does not have any of these properties. It therefore eludes direct description or conception. Even in the terrestrial realm, language becomes intellectual when it is used to describe subtler themes. For example, it is easy to describe perceived objects, difficult to express feelings and emotions, still more difficult to explain intellectual concepts. Hence, the transcendental reality, which is subtler than the subtlest, is indirectly indicated in the scripture through the process of negation. The language of negation, again, has a limitation, for the nature of the mind is such that it cannot entertain a negative concept. For instance, when a person is described as not being short, the mind cannot conceive not short as such without entertaining the opposite positive character of his being relatively tall. To avoid such misconception, the language of contradictions is used to describe the truth. The truth is said to be not gross. When described thus, the mind imagines it to be subtle. To avoid these misconceptions of truth, subtlety is also negated by stating that it is not subtle either. The truth is therefore beyond all that is gross and subtle. Similarly, it is described as neither short nor long. All pairs of opposites conceived by the intellect pertain to this limited world. The truth is beyond the pairs of opposites. Brahman is also indicated as having no birth or change. It is the perishable essence of all perishable substances of the world. Perishable substances have properties like name, form, color, etc. They have a beginning and an end. They undergo a series of changes. Brahman is not a substance, it has no properties, it is imperishable substratum upon which the perishable objects and beings manifest themselves. So what Dileep also read is this exact thing that we have the to know the self is to be the self. Now it's like talking about silence. If somebody is told, please explain silence, how do you explain silence? To experience silence, you have to be in silence. Or to experience the sweetness of sugar, how do you explain sugar, sweetness to somebody else? It's impossible. So what you will do, you put a few cubes of sugar into the other person's mouth and say, now you taste this, and you realize that this is the sweetness that we are talking about. So this is very important aspect. Similarly, the Atma. To know who you really are, if you are not, you can do neti to a particular point. How much neti can you do? As you do self-inquiry also, keep going inside. Quieten the thoughts. As the thoughts rise, quieten it by self-inquiry. Who am I? Or you can, like Bhagwan told Ganapati Muni, go to the source of the I and merge there. That's Bhakti Yoga. That's Vensama. You can do that. Or you can also surrender to the Lord and say, it's all yours. This is not me. And nothing is mine. It's only your will, no more my will. So when we are in that mode, then what happens? Then this ego vanishes. This middle layer between the body and the Chaitanya, the middle layer vanishes. And the mind, which has the properties, the vasanas to go out, suddenly merges into this original self. And then what you experience the Chaitanya, you experience that stillness within, that I. You'll experience that here and now. Once you experience that, then you will, once you get a taste of that, you will not want to leave it at any cost. So it's like that. So the journey is there, the journey is here and now, and the journey is inwards and not outwards. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya, Namo Ramana. Om, do you have chant? Sorry.
Namo Ramana.
Thank you.
In this part of the satsang, we were meditating on the verses of Arunachala Navamanimalai composed by Bhagavan Ramana. Achalane ayinum achabaitanil achalayam ammai yediradum achala uruvil achakti odungida ஓங்கும் அருணாச்சலம் என்று அறி அச்சலனே ஆதரு ಚಿತ್ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಚಲ ಶಿವನು ಶಕ್ತಿ ಎದುರಿಗೆ ಆಡಿ ಅಚಲ ರೂಪದಿ ಆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಅಡಗಲು ಬೆಳಗುವುದು ಅರುಣಾಚಲ ಎಂದು ಅರಿ. Last satsang we learned that one Dikshitar from Chidambaram was staying at Tiruvannamalai and he was coming to Bhagavan and he was repeatedly insisting Ramana to visit the Chidambaram, because Chidambaram is one of the Mukti Kshetras where the Darshana of Shiva bestows Mukti, liberation. So he was insisting that Ramana should come to Chidambaram to have the darshan of Nataraja. And Ramana, in reply to his request, wrote this verse and gave it to him. And the verse meant Shiva by nature is stillness. He is the silence. He is that which does not move. He is the basis. And Parvati is the one who manifests from the Shiva, and she is constantly in motion. And at Chidambaram what we see is that it is the opposite. The Shakti, who is ever changing, has become still, and Shiva is dancing in the hall of consciousness. Chit Sabha. Chit is the consciousness, and he is dancing in that hall, the theatre of consciousness. But here at Arunachala, he is in his inherent state of Achala Tattva. He is inherently in stillness. And what is the most wonderful thing? Even the Parvati, who is ever moving, has subsided in him, and she has also become one with him. And when the Shiva and Parvati, they merge into each other, then the light of Arunachala shines bright. Understand this, says Bhagavan Ramana. In Guruvachaka Kovai and also in other references, the Parvati Devi is the mind, and the Shiva is the self or the heart. And for some mysterious reason, the mind, it rises from the heart and it manifests as the world, and we see so many activity in the world. At the end of the day, the mind gets tired and it unconsciously goes back to its true source, which is the heart, where Shiva and Parvati have become one again. And in that oneness, we find great joy, which is the experience of each one of us in deep sleep. And again, the next day morning, again the mind rises from the heart and continues with its activity. This constantly the mind rising and getting tired and going back, this is causing this illusion of this world and creating all these problems. If one can enter the heart with the pure mind and abide in the heart consciously, not unconsciously like in deep sleep, but Jagrit Sushupti, in the waking state, if one is able to abide in the heart, then the true light of the self shines forth. It shines so bright like the Arunachala, which is like the Jyotistamba without a beginning or an end. We will realize that we are that light which does not have a beginning or an end. This story, this journey of a sadhaka who has come out of the heart and he is awaiting, he is doing sadhana to get back to the heart, is beautifully seen in the story of Shiva and Parvati, which we are not tired of repeating it again and again and again. Long time back, when Shiva and Parvati were together in Kailasa, Parvati suddenly got a doubt. The Jiva gets a doubt. She feels it is separate from the Paramatma, this Jivatma feels that I am different from Paramatma. When you separate yourself, there is a doubt which arises. The doubt of the omnipresence of the God, omnipotency of the God, and omniscience of the God. So we get a doubt. So Parvati got a doubt whether the Shiva's eyes, which are described as sun, moon, and the fire, are they really true, or are they only the poetic expressions of the devotees? So she wanted to test this. So she slowly went behind Shiva and she playfully closed the eyes of Shiva and tries for the Shiva and Parvati is like many years and yugas for people on the earth. So the whole universe was filled with darkness, the darkness of ignorance, and the whole world had to be protected by Shiva by opening his third eye, which is the Jnana Drishti. Through that Jnana Drishti, he had to protect the world, and he told Parvati to take out her hands. And she realized the mistake that she had done, and she removed her hands, and she felt very sad that being Jagan Mata, I have been the cause of destroying the whole universe. I have caused the Akala Pralaya, the untimely Pralayam, the delusion. So I need to go to earth and I will repent for what I have done and I will perform tapasya so that it can purify me, said Parvati. But Shiva assured, "Oh Parvati Devi, Shiva and Shakti are in essence the same. You are ever pure. Even whatever you do, you are the self. You are the Shiva. But I want you to go to the earth and do your tapasya. By your tapasya, the whole world will get purified and there will be good to the world. And also, by your tapasya, you will show the path for the seekers of truth to get back to me. That is, to get back to the Shiva Tattva." So, Parvati Devi, she had to come to earth. The Jiva who sees that he is different from Paramatma has to come back to earth, and he has to again continue the sadhana to get back to his true nature, which is Shiva. So she came to the earth, and when she came to earth, she came to a place called Kashi. And there in Kashi, the people were suffering from drought. There was no water and there was no food to eat. So there she became Annapurneshwari and she started serving food to all the comers. And the Raja wondered, even we don't have rice and grocery in our palace, but some great lady is giving food to all the people of Kashi. So he came to that Devi and he fell at the feet and told, "Oh Devi, you please stay here. Don't go anywhere." And at that point, Shiva appeared and said, "Oh Parvati Devi, you have been doing karma yoga. You've been serving people without any desire. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodakam mukti sadakam." It is when you do an action without any desire, it makes your chitta shodakam, you become pure, and that will lead you to mukti. So you have done that karma yoga here, but you have become very famous here. Once you become famous, you can't continue the sadhana. People may disturb your sadhana. So I recommend that you go to south of India, to Kanchi, and continue your tapas there. And from there, she, blessing the people of Kashi as Annapurneshwari, she assures that there is never going to be drought in Kashi. She blesses them and then she starts her journey towards Kanchi. And there in Kanchi, she makes a lingam of the mud, the Prithvi Linga, under a mango tree. and that linga is called the Ekambareshwara Lingam. And there she starts doing puja with lot of devotion, showing the marga of bhakti, bhakti marga, bhakti yoga. And there, to test her bhakti, Shiva creates a flood in the Kampa river, which is flowing there in Kanchi. And when all the Sakhis come and report to Parvati Devi, saying that Parvati Devi, the Kampa river is flooding, come, let's go away to safety. And Parvati Devi says, no, how can I leave my Shiva here and come with you? So she embraces that Shivalinga to protect it from the flood. And there she saw the oneness, she saw herself in the Shivalinga. Usually in the puja vidhi, soham bhavena comes, okay? When we are doing the puja to an idol also, have the bhava of so aham, I am that the murti that I am worshipping, and the murti is God who is me. So with that bhavana we should do. So because she showed that sat bhavana without any bheda, he was pleased by her bhakti and told, oh Parvati Devi, I am pleased by your tapasya here, your bhakti here. Now you move to Arunachala. That is your ultimate destination, and there I will unite with you. And when she was ready to leave to Arunachala, all the bhaktas, all the rishis came and fell at the feet of Kanchi Kamakshi and told, oh Devi, oh Mother, if you leave us and go away, who will take care of us? And there she assured them, I will bestow all your desires, and I will take care of you, as Kamakshi here taking care of you. And she assures that to the rishis there and goes to Arunachala. She comes to Arunachala and she meets Rishi Gautama Maharshi, and she hears the Mahatmyam of Arunachala, and she learns that this hill is not an ordinary hill. It is the hill of the fire of knowledge. Bhagavan is described as Pavakojvalaya Namaha, one who shines bright by the fire of knowledge. And this Arunachala is that Jnana Pilambu, that column of the light of knowledge. And she says, just like how a bride and the bridegroom in their wedding go around the Agni Sakshi, I will go around you, O Arunachala, the fire of knowledge. And she goes round in Giri Pradakshina and she is performing her tapasya. And we all know that it was during this time that the Mahishasura, who represents the darkness of ignorance, all the darkness which is there, the darkness of worry, anxiety and the thoughts which take us away from the light, that was destroyed by Parvati Devi as Durga, killing this Ajnana Andhakara, Mahishasura. And when this darkness of ignorance is completely destroyed, Parvati becomes pure and she becomes ready to merge with Shiva. And she prays to Shiva, oh Shiva, if you don't come and reveal your true form, then I will die in vain. I will not be able to fulfill the purpose of my life. When she prays this to Shiva, the Shiva appears and says, oh Parvati Devi, I am pleased by your tapasya. Ask me, what boon do you want? And Parvati Devi says, oh Shiva, in essence we are same, but if we are physically separate too, unknowingly I may do any mistake. I may do some papa kritya. So make me one with you. And Shiva gave his half body to Parvati and they became Arunachala. That is the Ardhanarishwara, half Shiva, and Shiva, Parvati merging into Shiva. That is the Ardhanarishwara Swarupa. And here in Arunachala, this happened. The Shiva and Parvati, they united to become Ardhanarishwara. Parvati, she represents each devotee. She represents our mind. And the mind, by tapasya, by sadhana, by all these marga, the karma marga, bhakti marga, and the Raja Yoga and pranayama, these various paths are given to us to kill this Mahishasura. And when the Mahishasura is killed, Parvati becomes still. She becomes pure. Once she becomes pure, just like in Chidambaram, she becomes still. When she becomes still, she can see the dance of the self, the dance of Nataraja as I, dancing in the hall of consciousness. And she becomes ready to merge into that Shiva. Then we see that Ardhanarishwara Swarupa, which we see in Arunachala. And this is what Ramana says, that when our mind, which is Parvati, becomes pure and gets ready to merge in the heart, and when she merges in the heart, the true light of consciousness, the true light of Arunachala shines forth. And that is the glory of Arunachala. And Arunachala is not different from the Chidambara Shiva. Chit Ambara means the hall of consciousness. What is the hall of consciousness? It is the heart. In the hall of consciousness, which is the heart, the Shiva is dancing the dance of I. And when through sadhana the mind merges into that I, Spurana, then there is the experience of the peace and silence, which is Arunachala, which is the light of the self, which is the heart, says Bhagavan Ramana in this beautiful first verse of Arunachala Navamanimale. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We continue with the sharing by Dr. Sarada on the verses of Ramana Ashtottara written by Vishwanatha Swami.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, in this part of the satsang, we meditate on the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavali, the 108 names, the litany of 108 names composed by Vishwanatha Swami. And in the last satsang, we were meditating on the Nama Rachitachala Tandavaya Namaha. And we just now heard Ujwal Jagadeesh talking about the Achala Tandava, the stillness that is the dance of the self. And after that, we also meditated on the Nama Gambhiraya Namaha, the one which is so revered, which is so still in a way, the Gambhira, the respected, the magnificent Gambhira. And then Vishwanatha Swami goes on to say, Paramacharyaya Namaha. Om Paramacharyaya Namaha. The Supreme Acharya. You who are the Supreme Acharya. And Paramacharya also means the Acharya of the Acharya. supreme teacher, he says, and the supreme teacher is Dakshinamurti, a later Nama in two Namas in the Ashtottram to come later. We will find that Vishwanath Swami refers to Bhagavan as Dakshinamurti. So here he calls him Parama Acharya, supreme teacher, or the Acharya's Acharya. So our mind goes to the episode of Ganapati Muni surrendering to Bhagavan and finding in him his own Guru. To me, to you, and to all, he is Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, says Muni. So we are on the verge of Deepavali, and we heard the song of Deepavali, the Kannada translation also being sung by Revathi Shankar today, wherein Bhagavan says that Naraka Chaturdashi is the destruction of the Naraka, the thought that I am the body, and the celebration is Deepavali, the shining forth of the self as I is Deepavali. And for all of us, there is this great anguish of not being able to experience that truth, of yearning for that truth. And we find that this yearning is, you can say, it was at the peak for Ganapati Muni because he was a great tapasvi. That great tapasvi who had performed crores of Shiva Panchakshara Japa, who had been inspired or rather fired by the very phrase, by the very word tapas, right from his childhood, and had found solace in tapas, and therefore had done penance, probably of every kind, and had mastered all the shastras, all the scriptures. Such a one, yet because of the sincerity and the depth of his penance, understood that his penance had not reached its fruition. And this understanding, he himself describes, saying he wondered where he had gone wrong. There was this great anguish because he did not know what else to do. All that had to be done was done. And in that moment of great desperation, suddenly he remembered the Bala Yogi on Arunachala, whom he had seen once before, perhaps a couple of times, but once certainly. And he had also described or spoken about him, equating his presence to the shloka Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye, the destroyer of all vignas. And he had said this shloka can be applied not only to Lord Ganesha, but to all great ones. And seeing Bhagavan seated over there, he had said even to this Maharshi over here, he had not referred to him as Maharshi, even to this great sage seated over here, Bhagavan was then seated in silence, and this had happened in the presence of Ishvara Swami. And he had said he is wearing the white loin cloth, Shukla Ambaradharam, and Vishnu. He is all pervading. He is the Vishnu also means one who is very large, the huge one, the magnificent one, the Gambhira one. Shashivarnam, of cool complexion. Many people say Bhagavan was of that complexion which was so beautiful to see. Chaturbhujam, one who has 4 arms. It also means one who has eaten the 4, explained Muni. So it is Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. All the 4 have been swallowed by him. Chaturbhujam. Prasanna Vadanam, one who has the beautiful smile on his face, the joyous, the bliss of the self radiating from his face. Dhyayet sarva vighnopashantaye. He had already paved the way. He had already asked him, sarva vighnopashantaye. And suddenly, in his moment of anguish, at a point when he was revered by so many of his disciples, but still he was aware that he had not reached the fruition of his tapas. He said to himself, it is not possible that the Vedas could be wrong, the Upanishads could be wrong, the scriptures could be wrong, the path they had shown could not be wrong. So he was all the more desperate because he felt there is some lacuna in his own understanding. And he remembered this sage, and it was the month of Kartikeya. It was actually the celebration of Kartikeya Deepam festival was ongoing at that time, and the Muni himself had been responsible for moving the Ratha, the temple Ratha, the vehicle, the huge vehicle of Arunachaleshwara, which had mysteriously got stuck and would not move. And on the Muni's coming, it moved. Despite all this, the Muni was desperate, and he remembered Ramana. And in the afternoon heat of Arunachala, he ran up the hill to meet this young sage. Bhagavan was seated outside the Virupaksha cave. Muni fell at his feet, and the Muni himself describes that he held his right foot with his right hand and his left foot with his left hand and bathed his feet, did Abhisheka to his feet with his tears. And once he had done that, and he had poured forth his anguish and expressed himself, saying that he had done what all needs to be done, and yet he had not understood the true meaning of tapas. And for the first time in public, Bhagavan had spoken a few words sometimes to Parini Swami on occasion. Parini Swami, who was his personal attendant right from Gurumurtam. But to seekers of truth like Gambiram Sheshayar and Shiva Prakasham Pillai, Bhagavan had only answered in writing. But to the Muni, he spoke. Muni had asked him what is the true meaning of tapas. And Bhagavan answered, find out from where the I thought arises and merge at its source. That is tapas. Find out from where the sound of the mantra emanates and merge at its source. That is tapas. The Muni immediately intuited the truth of Bhagavan's words. In his very presence, he sat for several hours and experienced the truth of this. And thereafter, he named him Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. And he wrote to all his disciples, my master I have found. He wrote to Daivarata, he wrote to Kapali, he wrote to Karshni, he wrote to everyone, say, "My master I have found. And he is no ordinary sage, he is a Maharshi, he is Bhagavan. I have called him Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. For you, for me, for you, and for all the world, may he remain as Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi." And so Vishwanatha Swami hails him in this Nama as Paramacharyaya Namaha, who has lighted the path of tapas, who has revealed the inner truth of all that the Shastras have been speaking about and revalidated the scriptures, as it were, by his life, by his spontaneous experience of the self at the age of 16, and by his direct revelation of the truth each and every time any seeker turned to him for any doubt on the path. Hence, he is hailed as Paramacharya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will have the chanting of a few verses of Arunachala Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. வீடு விட்டீர்த்துள விடுப்புக்கு பயமுன் வீடு காட்டினை அருள் அருணாச்சலம். வெளிவிட்டேன் உன் செயல் வெறுத்திடாதுன் அருள் வெளிவிட்டென்னை அருணாச்சலாம். வேதாந்தத்தே வேரற விளங்கும் வேத பொருள் அருள் அருணாச்சலாம். வைதலை வாழ்த்தா வைத்தருள் கொடியா வைத்தென்னை விடாதருள் அருணாச்சலாம். அம்புவில்லால் இப்போல் அன்புரு ஒன்னில் என்னை அன்பா கரை தருள் அருணாச்சலாம். அருண என்றென்னை அருள் கண்ணிப்பட்டேன் உன் அருள் வல்லை தப்புமோ அருணாச்சலாம். சிந்தித்தருள் பட சிலந்தி போல் கட்டி சிறையீட்டுண்டென்னை அருணாச்சலாம். அன்போடு நாமம் கேளன்பர்த்தம் அன்பருக்கன்பனாயிட அருள் அருணாச்சலாம். என் போலும் தீனரை இன்புற காத்து நீ எந்நாளும் வாழ்ந்தருள் அருணாச்சலம். என் குருக்கன்பர்த்தம் இன் சொற்குள் செவியும் என் பொன்மொழி கொள அருள் அருணாச்சலாம். ஒரு மயமூதர புன் சொல்லை நன் சொல்ல பொறுத்தருள் இஷ்டம் பின்னருணாச்சலாம். மாலை அளித்தருணாச்சல ரமண என் மாலை அணிந்தருள் அருணாச்சலாம். மாலை அளித்தருணாச்சல ரமண என் மாலை அணிந்தருள் அருணாச்சலாம். அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி. Aksharamanamalai Vadi. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We conclude today's satsang with Ashtottara puja to Bhagavan. The puja will be done by Sri Dileep Simha ji in the deity altar, and the chanting of the Ashtottaram will be done by Vaibhavji and Prarthana, followed by Revathi, and the Arati song will be sung by Ujwal Jagadeesh. We have the Ashtottara puja to Bhagavan.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन मोंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्ड संविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ हिन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डितानन्दमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्तसत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणात्मिकाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पुराय नमः ॐ विरचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्य निधाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराजे नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईड्याय नमः
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः ॐ आप्ताय नमः ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः ॐ समदृशे नमः ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः ॐ सत्याय नमः ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्छिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविदायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादघसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणभगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्य तद् दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादाद्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे।
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
Jai.